Hey guys, Jim here from Carolina Outdoor Hunting and Fishing Supply. A lot of you guys have bought over the past a lot of our game calls that we have, and I thought maybe I'd just do this little short video because I thought probably what you would like to see is how we build these game calls. So I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick how I build and how I use a lathe and turn down two of our basic calls, which is our squirrel and rabbit predator calls. And that way you'll have a better understanding of all the work and the different things that go into it. And that way if you should decide you might want to get a lathe and do it yourself, well then you can have at it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, two things you're going to need to be able to build your game call is just an inexpensive lathe. Now, you can get these at some of your tool woodworking box stores, and they're not that expensive. You don't need a very big lathe or a very expensive one to work on these projects and do this. Okay, and another thing you need is just an inexpensive drill press. And the reason we have that is because when you get your blanks all cut out, you need to drill a hole in them. Like that. Now it depends, the hole size really depends on the size reed that you're using. And so you'll just have to figure that out for yourself, because that's the size reed that we use for ours, and there are smaller ones, but really except for having a bandsaw, a small bandsaw to cut your dowels, that's basically about it. These two tools here and a bandsaw is really about all you need. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You can cut your blanks out of a wood dowel and cut them to the size you want, or you can do it the way we do it most of our calls, and we go out and we actually harvest the wood out of the woods and bring it in, and then we size it, and it'll have four corners like this. And it's really hard when you're using your lathe on your knives to knock these corners off. So what we do is I'll go to the bandsaw and I'll just shave every one of these corners off on here. And it's a little bit easier on your knife, it's a little bit easier on your lathe, and it works a whole lot quicker. Now, should you decide to go ahead and use wood that you've cut out in the woods, or you've gone and got firewood and you have a little bit of wood left over and you want to make a game call out of it, just remember what you need to do is knock these edges off, and it'll just make it go along a whole lot better. So let's go ahead and we'll get this one started. I'll drill the hole in it first and show you how I do that, and then we will go ahead and put it on the lathe and turn it down and make a rabbit call out of it. Okay, when you're drilling your hole, you need to make sure you try to get it as straight and square as you possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and put a block here, because it's not, make sure it's adjusted right. These blocks are small and the drill bit won't quite reach down there. Make sure you wear some safety glasses. And go ahead and try to center that and start your drill down on through. Just like so. And I pull my bed over, go down the rest of the way. This just happens to be the drill press I'm using. You may have one that will work a little bit better. This is just what I happen to have. Clean out the old sawdust and just go ahead down and finish your hole. Alright, there we go. There's a nice clean hole through there, ready for our reed. Now it's important to remember to try to get that hole as centered as close as you can, but it's not that terribly important, okay? Because when you put this on your lathe, what's going to happen is when you start your knife, it's going to center it for you, and it will turn this blank down to have a close to perfect circle before you actually start doing it. Now I'm going to go ahead over here to the bandsaw and I'm going to cut these edges off right here. Alright, now that I've got my edges taken off my dowel, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to carve it out and to lathe it out. So what I'll do now is to go ahead and put it in the lathe. We'll get started forming this thing. Now, a design This is just a design I came up with myself. You can have 1,000 different designs out there. It's just whatever you can dream up on the lathe. So, but I'll go ahead and we'll start squaring this up and whittling it, and when we're done, we'll have a finished product. Get this on the lathe. And depending on the kind of mandrel you use, mine just has rubber washers. You don't want to get this too tight because you'll split the wood in a lot of cases. Can't tell you how many pieces I've thrown away because I split them. Tighten this up and go ahead and start your lathe. Now I'll always take and have, when I start this, I'll always take and start off straight, okay, with my arbor, my knife plate here straight, okay, and that way I'm going to square this piece of wood up. So let's go ahead and square it up and make it nice and round. Make sure you're using sharp knives. It doesn't take too long to do it. Like I said, make sure you're wearing glasses because this wood chips will fly all over the place. I tilt my knife a little bit. As you can see, by doing so, it throws the carvings this way. If I was to tighten and put my knife this way, see what it does? It throws them to me. And it just makes a mess. So I just kind of turn my knife a little bit. Alright, let's see what that looks like. It's still a little rough. If you put your hand on there and feel that, you'll be able to feel that it's still out of round. Got a little more to do. Getting pretty good, a little bit more right here. And all you're doing right now is you're just trying to square up that wood dowel right there so that when you're done, that wood dowel from a square piece of wood is going to look like that. Alright, now that's starting to feel pretty good. Now, with this design, like I said, another thing I want to do really quick is I want to make sure that my ends are square, okay? And I just use that type of knife right there. I don't know what the name of a lot of these knives are, but and I'll just take and hold my hand like so, just steady it, and just push it into the center of the mandrel shaft, and just square it up. And I'll do the same over here. Okay, and that cleans that up pretty good. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to tip my knife guide. I'm going to tip it just a little bit at an angle, probably a 15-degree angle, and that's going to help me design my call. Alright, I'm going to start carving. Like I said, guys, this is more or less what you can imagine. Take your time at this point because sometimes this wood will split and then you got to start all over again. Alright, now see I got kind of a little bell there on the end. Now I'm going to take the rest of this material off here. And once you get your basic shape and the size you want, straighten up your arbor blade, your knife guide, and then pick your knife up a little bit and just very carefully clean this up some. And this will help smoothen that wood so you'll have a lot less sanding to do. When you're done with that, that'll be nice and smooth. And I'm just taking a very, very, very little bit of wood off from there. That's good and smooth now. Making sure you got a good lip right there that you want. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to cut the back of this. This is all my design. Alright, now that looks pretty good. The only other step I'm going to do is I'm going to take this knife right here and I'm going to do a little fancy stuff with it. I'm going to put two little lines in here like that. Okay. And then I'm going to clean out my holes where my reed's going to go. Now just clean out that hole on that side and go right up against the arbor shaft and just clean out that one. Okay, now that we've got that done, the only two things remaining for me to do now is to go ahead and sand my wood down a little bit. And in the process of that, when I'm done, then I'm going to go ahead and put my little black lines on here and get this good and smooth, put some polish on it, and it'll be ready for the market. Now before you finish up, you want to make sure that everything's the way you want it. And I feel a little bit of a lump right there, so I'm going to do just a little bit more work on that. It's not really, I can see it now that I got this caul turning. I can see it just got a little bit of bump right there. I'm going to take it right out, just like so. Just by taking your hand and going up and down here, you can feel whether you've got that the way you want to have it. Okay, now that feels pretty good to me. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take my sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and sand it a little bit. It's good to make sure you have a mask on, because this sawdust, you don't want to get this in your lungs and it just ends up giving you a bunch of problems. Just go ahead and sand that down. I'm using an 80 grit paper right now, because sometimes this wood can be, especially if you're using locust posts, or I mean not locust post, but locust wood, locust tree, that wood is extremely hard. So you're going to want to cut that down, that wood down, so you can get a good smooth finish on it. Alright, now before I put the finishing touches, I want to take me a piece of wire. That's just a piece of wire I'm using right there. And I'm going to put me 2 black lines. And this is just to dress up your caul. It just makes it kind of dress it up a little bit and gives it a little bit of character is all it does. Okay. Now if you can see them lines in there, that just burns it. Now I'm going to cut down a little bit on my sandpaper. I'm going to go down to a 220 and smooth this up really good. And we're almost done. It does take a little bit longer to do this, and perhaps there's a better way to do it than what I'm doing, but you know what, guys? Nobody taught me how to do this. I had to learn on my own, do a little bit of reading, checking out a few things on YouTube, and basically I learned to do a lot of this myself. You'll see that start to shine up when it's getting really close, and it's getting really close now. And sometimes I'll even take it down to 400 grit and even get a little bit finer than what I'm using. And that's going to be a real pretty caul when it's done. A little bit more right here. Alright. Alright, I got a polish here that we use to put a real nice shine on this, the woods, the cauls when we're done with them. And it not only puts a really good durable shine that's wear resistant, and it's also water resistant, so it'll protect your caul from getting wet. You know, a wood caul, they're not like acrylic cauls. You know, you use them over time and they get damp and they shrink and they swell up, and this to just help protect it. And all you need to do is put a little drop or two on here and start your lathe going, and just rub your rag back and forth. And don't be afraid to get this hot, because the hot is what really activates that polish. This is softwood, and it's a little harder to get softwood to shine and to get the effect that you might want. And this is probably a piece of poplar or something. Don't really know. I suspect it's probably poplar. And I'm just going to take this rag there, and you can see it smoking a little bit. That's good, because that's putting a really good shine on there. If the camera's getting that shine, you'll see that shine. And then I'm going to get the edges. I'll make sure we get the inside a little bit. And that'll help seal that caul from rain. And let's check it. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to let that go the way it is. That looks pretty good. Let me get this thing off from here and I'll show it to you. Well, that looks pretty good. It good and smooth for a piece of poplar, and it has a really good shine to it right there. You can see the wood grain. I guess the camera looks like it's getting it pretty good for you, and you know, that's what the end looks like. I probably could have taken a little more time here, but for editing purposes and also for, you know, speeding this up and doing it quickly, I basically just wanted to show you guys you could do these yourself too if you wanted to. They're a real easy thing to do. You get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and it's really great if you can take and build yourself something like that and go out there and harvest a coyote, because you can, you know, these are the blanks like we use for our squirrel predator calls and also our coyote predator calls or rabbit calls. And they give out a loud, shrill noise. And that's used for, you know, for calling predators like foxes and coyotes and things like that in. It's a distress call, and it alerts the predators out there that there's a rabbit or a squirrel or something in distress. And of course they're going to take advantage of that and come in there and try to get them a free meal. But anyhow, you know, you get a lot of satisfaction out of making something like that, especially if you're into woodcrafts and doing things. And I'm not saying that I did it the right way. This is the way I learned how to do it, okay? If anybody out there can show me a better way to save me some time and do it a little quicker, please let me know. And, you know, we appreciate it if you just go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And that way when we come out with more videos, you'll be able to see them. And, you know, don't be afraid to make a comment on YouTube and tell me, gee, you know, you could have saved a little time if you'd done this or done that. Because that's what it's all about. It's just a learning experience. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on another video.